Again, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the session, Composable Banking on the Cloud. I'm Rojin Nair, and I will be moderating this session. So joining me all the way from Mumbai, India is Khandwala, the SVP and Engineering Head of Intellect Design. Welcome. Brian Guillemin, Chief Digital Officer of Concentra Bank. Brian, you're joining us from Saskatoon, I guess.
Yeah, pleased to meet you.
Chris Goodman, Credit Union Digital Transformation and a Platform Champion, long-term Credit Union C-level executive. And Chris is joining us from beautiful Vancouver.
Thank you, Rojin.
Welcome. So this is a 30-minute session. We'll try to get as much insights from this panelist as we can today. So if you have any questions, please add them in the chat. If time permits, we can take a few questions, which I really doubt. Else we'll find a way to address them. Now, this is a topic that's very timely, as the incumbent financial institutions they're really trying to keep up with the digital disruptions, right? The hundreds of fintechs and the paytechs that are mushrooming, the competitive pressure from the neobanks and the challenger banks on the traditional players is enormous these days. And personally, I believe that things like the central bank digital currency, adoption of real-time payments globally, the peer-to-peer financial transactions, open banking, open finance, all these things are going to be reality soon. And before we know, it'll be here. So this topic is, in my mind, it's pretty important and timely now. Having said that, maybe I'll start with you. There's so much buzz about the composable architecture out there, right? So can you define it in simple terms for our audience?
Sure, Roshan. So I think this architecture paradigm is, put it in simple terms, is all about assembly, of building blocks to build a solution. These are all independent building blocks, but again, it depends on the context in which you see. So when you look from the perspective of an enterprise or a bank, right, these building blocks are nothing but business components from, how you from where you stitch a solution, right? These business components are also called by Gartner as, packaged business capabilities, or PBCs, as you would know, right? Mm-hmm. And you can have those business components already existing in your enterprise, or you have it from a vendor or your transformation partner or from the marketplace. It doesn't really matter. What matters is the composition, bringing together these building blocks to form the enterprise, right? And when you again change the perspective to an application or one particular PBC, right, or one particular business component, the same composition architecture is how you build it with a microservices architecture. That again is a composition principle, but its context is at a application level or at a business component level, right? And yeah, I just also wanted to maybe add some 2-3 key principles around this, building blocks. Sure. I think in a composition architecture, this building block should be self-complete. It should have APIs and events so that it's easier to compose them, right? You need to have a composition platform to be able to stitch them together in a no-code way via configuration as a self-service, right? And last but not the least, these building blocks, you get the maximum advantage when you put them as containers on a cloud platform. So you make it available as a service by deploying it on a Kubernetes cluster. So that's where you get the real advantage of this composable enterprise.
Perfect. Now that's good perspective. So that's we heard from a vendor's perspective. So Brian, over to you. So as a bank now, as a beneficiary of this architecture, what are your thoughts on composable architecture? So as a customer, what's your perspective on composable architecture?
Yeah, thanks, Rojin. So as financial institutions and banks, credit unions become more focused on meeting customer needs, and as we realize that those needs are becoming more and more specific, the idea of a single institution being able to meet all the expectations of the customers becomes unrealistic. Mm-hmm. So as a result, we need to create this environment, a platform where we can allow and provide access to third parties, developers, future partners, in order to create those digital solutions to meet those unique customer needs.
Right.
Like Viral said, the architecture itself needs to be API enabled. It's got to allow for those individual components, those distinct functions, to be coupled together with our current processes and services in a manner that we can bring to the market those solutions that address those customer needs and has more value. Actually, it's greater than the sum of the individual parts as you start bringing these pieces together. So, and instead of locking these new capabilities into a dedicated application, composable banking actually allows us to keep those capabilities separate so that they can be combined and then recombined in new ways to respond to those future customer needs as they arise.
Perfect. Now, Chris, if I come to you and say, you've been in the financial industry for a long time as a CIO. What are your thoughts on how composable architecture would, or how it could accelerate the digital transformation expectations of these financial institutions?
Okay, thank you, Rojin. First, in financial services, like many technology applications and functions that we use were developed 15, 20, 30 years ago. We all know Moore's law. It states that technical capability increases every 18 to 24 months. Mm-hmm. Multiply this out, and it becomes evident that we're ripe for disruption. We've been coasting for the past decade, but now we're in a situation where we need to accelerate quickly due to changing expectations in our environment. Customer and member journeys are no longer getting in their vehicle and coming to your branch location. Our job now is to be in an individual's back pocket, which means our customers, they own their own journeys, and we need to be present for them. For example, if somebody's at Costco and they want to buy a Nintendo Switch and they don't have the money until tomorrow, that should be a 1 button, 1 second, buy now, pay later, walk out the door situation for them. Mm-hmm. Customers have grown accustomed in the pandemic to dealing with their institutions remotely, and our job is to manage relationships via digital and mediate. Customers will accelerate digital transformation. Our job is to keep up with their expectations. We have a choice today. We can take a bigger piece of the pie or a smaller piece of the pie.
And you believe that this will really help them accelerate that. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Now, Raul, back to you. Intellect has been in the forefront of this technology globally. So from your experience across the world, you have seen the adoption of it, I believe, in Europe and Asia faster than here in North America. So what are some of the outcomes you're seeing, the benefits these global institutions are getting from the composable banking approach?
Yeah, I think you're right. So I think conventionally, Intellect, we being a product player in the BFSI space, we have always kind of architected our products as business components, which can be used independently, or a set of business components can be stitched for a complete product stack. So for example, if you want to use, let's say, only a limits or a loan management or a origination or a deposits, customer information, all that has been possible, or just a channel solution, right? It's just that earlier, they were more like conventionally deployed. Now they are deployed as microservices containers on cloud with APIs and all, right? Mm-hmm. Now coming to your question about, what are the outcomes, what customers expect, right? I think what we need to understand is what is the biggest, the driver is basically we need to acknowledge that all the organizations are moving from kind of what used to be a steady progressive change to an extreme change, right? Mm-hmm. So changes, they have to adapt to the changes from the business. It's not just the digital channels. It's about being mobile first, cloud first, replacing legacy with modern systems. Ensuring that you are digital inside as well and not just digital outside, so that you get that efficiencies, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the key outcomes or the key drivers is that extreme flexibility and the extreme agility to adapt to this particular change is what is driving this adoption across geographies, right? That is, in my view, probably one of the biggest driver. Right. And we are seeing another very interesting trend. Okay, components from different verticals, they are coming together to come and create composed solutions to actually resulting in more innovations. right? In the sense that something which was not possible by a pre-stitched products, right? You compose and recompose in different ways your components from different verticals, let's say of a consumer banking, and create something like a point of sales finance or buy now pay later solution, which was kind of earlier not easy, but now because of the composition architecture, I think that has become a outcome for the organizations to expect. They can really innovate. They can give those solutions, those experiences to the customer because of that. And I think last one interesting outcome last is of course the TCO. Not only because of the adoption of cloud and you spread it over a period of time, but also because of the thrust on self-service, right, that you give in composition, right? Your TCO also comes down as part of managing this change. So I think these are some of the outcomes which definitely organizations are looking at globally across all geographies that we are working with, and it can be achieved as well.
Yeah, and I have to echo the fact that cross-industry collaboration is now possible. I was this morning hearing from the healthcare system in UK how the digital identity that they develop potentially could be ported across other banking and other verticals. You're absolutely right. Now we are getting into that digital collaboration. Doesn't matter what vertical you're coming. If there are components that are interoperable, it's absolutely a great story under the architecture. Great, thank you. And coming back to you, Brian, I understand Concentra has made a decision to move forward with Intellect in your digital journey. So congrats on that. Now, can you give a brief insight for the audience benefit? What made you as an organization, such a large organization, to explore a platform like this? You always have this legacy, should we change, is it risky type of thing in your background. And when you made this decision and you did your research, what was that aha moment that across your board, to your executives, to the staff, what was that moment everybody said, yeah, this is the right way to go forward?
Yeah, okay. So I guess just to start at the beginning, very, very early in our digital transformation journey, we knew we had to expand beyond our core legacy programs or platforms. We don't have a large number of resources at Concentra that can focus on coding and customizing. And so our focus continues to be how do we integrate and what do we look for that we can bring to our transformation from outside the organizations, from outside our core systems, something that's new and unique. So we were looking for a solution that had significant off-the-shelf capabilities that would allow us to custom build or assemble value-generating, differentiating solutions. We were already on a journey to move to agile across the organization, so we wanted a solution where we could continually improve and adjust on those market changes. We were looking for a solution that allowed us not only a differentiated and modern customer experience, but one that allowed us to really reinvent that experience in a relatively easy, fast, and a mobile-first focus, as Viral indicated. We know that open banking is on the horizon, even here in Canada. So we were looking for an organization that had a proven track record in that regard.
Okay.
And keeping to the composable theme, we were looking for a solution that really didn't have a limited spectrum of options. We one that provided us the capability to interface with external solutions and partners and to bring new solutions to the market as customer needs change and become more specific. We were essentially looking for a solution that really played to our strengths. Concentra is a federally regulated bank, but we've always demonstrated our past success through partnerships. So we were looking for a solution that would allow us to continue to combine systems and solutions in unique ways that would create that competitive advantage.
Right.
As I hope this response has sort of indicates, there were a number of success factors that we considered in making our decision. But if I were to leave just with one insight, customers themselves don't care what our back-end banking systems are. They care about the experience that they're going to be receiving from us. that's going to be ultimately our competitive advantage. So above all else, we believe we've selected a solution, a partner that reinforces our need to be composable and allows us to focus on how we bring those new capabilities to address customer needs and the desired experiences that, right now we don't even know what some of those are going to be. So we want to make sure that we are future focused in that delivery.
Now that you're making a very valid point. I mean, there's a good CB insights statistics of how the banks initially, when the fintech and the tech disruption started happening, used to compete, but now you would see that how it's moving from a compete to collaborate and partner. So if anybody can get hold of the CB insight graphics, you would see how much the big banks itself is incubating and collaborating with the tech and open finance and open banking, two different terms, players. So they're not trying to compete. And I got to say kudos to Concentra for taking that approach here, Brian.
Yeah, thanks, Rojin.
So Chris, now you've been a big proponent of the platform and cloud-based architecture, as you vocal that very clearly already, for modernizing the banking and even the payment system, right? So how do you think the Canadian financial institutions who are at the cusp of thinking or even strategizing, should I modernize it? Is this a hype versus, is it a reality? So people who are thinking about modernizing the digital backbone. So I'm going to generalize it as a bigger digital backbone, and composable architecture is a bigger part of it. What's your advice, or what do you think you would say to them?
Okay, so strategically, financial institutions need to position themselves to build with building blocks, Lego, so to speak, just like we did when we were kids. Platforms are all about aggregating value and generating more value than would have existed otherwise. And this is done by bringing components together in a manner that reduces friction and builds network effect. So we need building blocks. Composable banking is one of those blocks. I often misspell composable as composable, which means, composable opens the door to driving awesome digital experiences for members. So, basically, we need to position ourselves now so that we can build these experiences using individual components.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, I think that there is always that hesitation, and I think part of this question Brian answered how a nationally regulated organization made that decision. So I think the more you wait, the more you're going to be behind the disruption. So that's a good advice, Chris. Coming back to you, Viral. We talked briefly about what's composable architecture, specifically on the banking side. I'm pretty sure there's one in the payment side also, but on the banking side, can you help the audience understand, when someone selects a platform, a composable core banking architecture, how modular this approach of execution, the design thinking based, user experience based approach, as opposed to the traditional thing, which is basically, here's a core banking, use what we have. I always make this analogy. Somebody asked me recently, what's the difference between a composable banking as well as compared to a traditional core banking? And my analogy was, if you want just to rent an apartment, just an apartment unit, would you rent the whole building? No, you just want one unit. And if you want 2 units, you rent more and you grow, rather than buying the whole thing and paying for it. So that's a modular approach in my definition. So if you can help people understand, once somebody makes the decision, what does a journey look like from a partnership, execution, and the whole user experience delivery?
Sure. So I think let me start with how we work with our customers, right? So when we start the journey, it actually starts with going with literally the palette of business components that we have on the table. And I talked about our composition platform, which is called as iTurmeric, right? Which is basically, it helps you to integrate, orchestrate, even build experiences APIs, and so on. So it is a very comprehensive digital composition platform, right? Now, having said that, we basically end up get into discussions with the customer. First of all, understanding what is their end vision, right? And what will be the key components required, and what is the kind of stitching required or assembly required to be able to conceive the end state, solution, the end state visualization, right? Having done that, right, normally we also make the customer comfortable with kind of a sandbox wherein the customer gets to experience the components. Also he can get access to an API portal where he looks at the API of the components and tries it for himself, okay, how the composition works, and can do a proof of concept. Now, after that comes the main planning part, wherein, as we rightly mentioned, right, that you are not kind of disrupting the entire thing in one go. So the main thing about composable banking is you go MVP route, right? So it is MVP at a time. You design, okay, what will go in first MVP, what will go in the second MVP, third MVP, and so on. So it is multiple agile deliveries rather than big bang deliveries, where you onboard certain business components or PBCs or channels, and then in the next MVP you introduce some other components and so on. So that entire thing is planned jointly along with the customer, right? After having done that, we typically recommend a cloud-based managed service deployment, wherein those particular components which are required in a given MVP, they are deployed as a container suite on cloud, right, on a kind of a Kubernetes cluster, so that you get that maximum advantage of scaling and agility, right? And if you take the example of, for example, Concentra, we have started first with a channel, right, with certain PVCs from our side and integration with existing systems of Concentra. That is MVP1. In the next MVP, we will have probably a couple of more PVCs. In the next MVP, we, let's say, have a commercial digital origination, right, and so on and so forth. So it's a very gradual process. At the same time, following a kind of agile DevOps methodology to roll out the change, right? But with the risk controlled, with component or a set of components at a time, as we rightly said, right? We don't want the entire thing in one go. Right?
To one go.
So
No, that's a very good thing, right? So because I mean, this is one thing you're learning from the startups and putting in the banking system is do one journey at a time, get the journey, master the journey, get to the next experience and journey, because we all know across the board how the big bang approaches, one single initiatives typically fail or take more time. So that's good. And Brian, continuing that theme here. So what business outcomes are you anticipating from an investment into a modern composable framework, which I believe has got legs to go even beyond banking to the decentralized finance in the general thing, because this is probably your door to that bigger realm. How do you think this will help Concentra be that future digital bank of Canada?
Yeah. So I guess about 3 years ago, I guess Concentra established our purpose and for the organization, that's creating the future of banking to enable your success, and to really make that purpose a reality. We've had to work with fintechs, credit unions, commercial entities, innovative firms to really bring unique products to the marketplace, and our past success has very much come about through those partnerships, through that sort of iterative approach of introducing new products, new services, and building on that. Our business strategy itself is focused on 3 competencies, and that being specializations, partnerships, and innovation. And our investment in the Intellect digital platform, our desire to really create that environment where we can facilitate and attract new players, new relationships, so we can sort of co-build that innovative, those specialized products and services for consumers is really key to our purpose and central to our corporate strategy. Mm-hmm. We have that vision to become a differentiated bank and one that provides positive experiences for the customers. Mm-hmm. And that experience is going to directly come from new partnerships from fintechs, from startups, from new organizations such as Intellect that we're working with to bring into the market, so that we can all sort of share on that goal to create that difference. Our business outcomes and in fact our corporate scorecard requires us to build a better and stronger customer relationship or more customer relationships. And having that composable background really allows us to optimize that user experience and to focus on speed to market. So as Viral indicated, focus on that first MVP, demonstrate what you can do, start building on the next one, and just keep that iterative process moving forward. It's all about being agile and having that capability to integrate and partner with external solution providers to sort of make all that happen.
Yeah, no, I mean, kudos. I mean, I hear the word agile, do it in chunks, as opposed to, announcing. I see a lot of announcement, on this day, we are becoming a digital bank completely. That's a good dream. We know that it doesn't, especially with incumbents. I mean, the startups do have that advantage of being digital on day one, but if you're a large incumbent company, organization, yeah, that journey is iterative. And coming back to you, Chris, like I see a lot of adoption of distributed ledger in the payment side, going to very modern real time, with the SEPA in Europe and the National Payment Network, real time rails in India, the composable architecture getting adopted across the world for the core banking. A lot of API gateways, financial institutions themselves are partnering. The digital marketplaces, which is a passion for me, the marketplace rather than point-to-point integration. So the organizations that adopt or are ready to adopt this type of modern thinking, do you think that they can compete better with the disruptors and the neo and the challenger banks?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't see us as competing with fintech. Our job is to orchestrate experiences. Fintech is a very, very important element when it comes to aggregating value, and adopting that modern platform will allow us to do that and compete with the new competitors as well. I'll keep this comment short due to time.
Right. No, that's good. So I'll give you guys, again, we got 1 minute here, 30 seconds or less final thought. Chris, I'll start with you.
I would say the world's changing. There is urgency. We have a choice. We can take a bigger piece of the pie or smaller by acting now. And
Viral, your thoughts?
I think I would say composable banking is a reality, and I think we really need to move forward with that. We have all the ingredients required to make it a reality.
And Brian, your last thoughts?
Yeah, I think if we've learned anything over the past year, the pace of change is only going to increase. So as financial institutions, we need to be agile. We need to be open to other third parties and what they can bring to the market. And this only comes from creating an environment that is capable of composing those new solutions.
Perfect. Unfortunately, we don't have time to take questions today. If there are any follow-up questions, please ping the panelist. You got everybody's LinkedIn and other contact there. Thank you, gentlemen, for those wonderful insights, and thank you for the audience. Giving us the time. Really appreciate you taking the time to join us. Enjoy the rest of the conference, and goodbye. Take care.
Thank you, Rojin.
Thanks so much, Rojin. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.